We have Keilim, base Gimel.
Let's start with Hey Dalid.
Okay, I keep going that way. Okay, hey, Dollar. Okay. Hey, Dollar. Okay. An oven that was heated from the outside, or that was heated from without his intent, or that was heated in his artisan's workshop is tummy. It once happened that a fire broke out among the ovens of Kefar Siga, and the case came to Yavna, and the Rabbi Gamil ruled the ovens tummy. The supplement of the oven of householders is tahor, but that of bakers is tummy, because he supports the spit on it. Rabbi Yochanan Hasanla said because he bakes with it when it is hard pressed. Similarly, the supplement of the cauldron of olive boilers is tameh, and that of dyers is tahor. An oven that was filled with earth up to its midpoint, the area from the earth and downward contracts tumah via contact, and the area from the earth upward contracts tumah with the airspace. So if one places an oven over the mouth of a pit or over the mouth of a cistern or place a stone there, Rabbi Yehuda says if he lights a fire below and the oven is heated above, it is tummy. But the comments say, since in any event the oven was heated, it is tummy. Okay.
Okay. All right. So Tanosh and Nitma. So let's say you've got an oven that did become Tameh, Teketzet Matarin, or so how do you fix it, get rid of the Tuma? Okay, so as with all earthenware, you got to break it, but you got to break it in such a way that there's no usable piece. And we'll see that it's got, in order to do that, you got to break it into three. Okay. Right? Because you can't have one piece that's more than half the size of the original oven, because then it retains its tuma, as we'll see. Okay, you got to break it into three. But gore it's not just the inner part, like the actual main part of the oven, but also the clay coating on the outside has to be broken all the way down.
There's a diagram here with the three parts.
Exactly. So you can see all of it over there. Rabbi Meir Omer, he says it's not, you don't have to worry about the clay piece. You just have to break the inner oven, not the clay on the outside. And it doesn't have to go all the way down. You just have to break it down internally until it's less than 4 tvachim high. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Omer v'tzarich lasio, and you have to move it. You have to detach it from the ground. He says if you want to be matarit, otherwise it's still on the ground, is still tame. Okay, and I believe that the halacha doesn't follow the view of Rabbi Shimon, doesn't follow Rabbi Meir. It's the Tanakama. You got to break it the whole way. What happens if you broke the oven in half? Echad gadol echad katan. So invariably you're going to have one side that's bigger than the other. Hagadol tameva katan tahor. Because the larger piece will be more than 50%. Wow. So therefore it stays tame. If you did break it into three pieces, echad gadol kishnaim, and if one piece was bigger than the other two, in other words, the third piece is more than 50%. Okay, gadol tameh u'shnayim katanim tahorin. Okay, so what we learn is that in order for it to lose its tuma, every piece has got to be less than half of the original. And easy enough. What happens if you cut the oven horizontally? Okay, pachos me'arba atfachim. So each segment is less than each segment that is less than 4 handbreadths is tahor. Because remember we learned in a previous Mishna that the minimum shear of the oven once it's been broken down is 4 tvachim. Okay. What happens if he broke it down and now smeared it with plaster or clay? Okay, mekabel tuma mishiyasikenu kedele ganin. Okay, so now that's the normal material that you'd use to reinforce the oven. So as soon as it becomes fired again, to the degree that where you can bake sponge cakes in it, then it's an oven again, and it's now susceptible to tuma again. What happens if he broke off the clay coating? And he put sand or pebbles in between the oven and the clay coating. This oven it's a substandard oven. It doesn't have the proper insulation, and therefore so they say like a niddah and a tahor woman can bake together, and they don't have to. The tahor woman doesn't have to worry that the niddah made it tameh, There's nothing that can become tamei in this oven.
Okay.
Okay. Tanur sheba mechutach mi beis ha'uman. So you bought an oven from IKEA. This is an IKEA oven. Okay. And it comes with these hoops around it that hold it together. Okay. And the hoops that so you take these hoops and you bind them together with it. V'nosnan alav, right? So now he assembles them and puts the hoops around them to reinforce them. Okay, it's still tahor. Okay, but then it started out tahor, but then it becomes once he puts on the hoops, it's now tamei. Okay, this is an assembled oven. Okay, here silekes limudav. Now he removed the hoops. Okay, now this is no longer an oven. This is now a broken oven. Okay, and now comes the interesting little thing. Watch this step over here. He put the hoops back on. Tahor. It's still tahor. It's not because what happened was originally you had an incomplete oven. You assembled it. It's now a complete oven. Now when he takes off the hoops again, it goes into the category of a broken oven.
Okay.
And with a broken oven, you can't just bind it together with a hoop. You've got to put clay on it and fire it in order to make it into an oven again. So it stays tahor. Mercho betit, however, if he now smears it with clay, makabel tuma, then yes, okay, once it gets fired again, then it is makabel tuma. Oh, yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon. The Mishna tells us explicitly, you don't need to fire it in order to become because it was already heated. Shekvar husak. Okay, so just let's see the commentary on that, and it need not heat it since it was already heated. Ordinarily, a new oven must be heated to a degree sufficient to bake sponge cakes before it becomes susceptible to tumah. In this case, though, since the oven was certainly heated to the prescribed temperature after it was first assembled by the householder, there's no need to reheat it. It therefore becomes susceptible to tumah as soon as the clay coating is applied. Now, we saw in the first case of the previous Mishnah that when an oven is reassembled from its constituent parts, it must not only be coated with clay, but heated again before it is ruled tamei. So why then does the oven in our Mishnah not require heating as in that case? So there are two notable differences. Here, the structural integrity of the oven's walls was never compromised by cutting them apart, since they were designed to be disassembled. Furthermore, after the pieces are put back together, the oven is secured with hoops. Since the purpose of the heating was to strengthen the walls, the oven's construction and the presence of the hoops suffice to provide the strength, rendering further heating unnecessary. Okay?
Okay. You know, I have to tell you this. It's a funny comment, but whenever they mention sponge cake in the Mishnah,
yeah,
my grandmother always showed them. I mean, when I knew her, she was like 70 years old already. But she made the best. I've never ever. It was just soft and sweet, and it was.
Yum.
Yeah, I know. All right, base gimel.
Base gimel, yeah.
These are tahor among the earthenware vessels. The tray that has no rim, an open-sided fire pan, toaster's pan, pipes, even though they are bent and even they are capable of containing a concav made for a bread basket. A tefi, which was adapted for covering grapes, a barrel for swimmers, a barrel-shaped handle set into the wall near the bottom of machaz, a bed, a chair, a bench, a table, a ship, and a candelabra, all made of earthenware or tahor. This is the general rule. Any of the earthenware utensils which have no interior have no degree of tuma upon their exterior. Every time I see that thing that a ship is made out of the
Earthenware.
earthenware, I just said,
it's like, what a weird ship. Who would make a ship out of?
How would it hold up? I don't know. All right. A lantern that is receptacle for oil is tamei. While it does not have a receptacle, it is tahor. A pot is formed which it begins with which is tahor, while the one that is finishes is tamei. A funnel of households is tahor, while that of the peddlers is tamei, since it is used for measurement. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda ben Nosara, and Rabbi Kiva says, since he tilts it on its side and allows the buyer to smell its contents. The cover of wine jugs and oil jugs on the cover of the area and barrels are tahor, but if it was prepared for some use, they are tamei. Cover of a stew pot which has a hole in it or which has a protrusion, it is tahor. If it does not have a hole, it is have no protrusion, it is tamei, since it strains the vegetables into it. Rav Eliezer ben Tzaddik says since he overturns the mass of cooked vegetables upon it. Okay. And we are into Talmud. Okay, base hay. No, yeah, base up. Base up. His fellows saw him descend, and they came running and hastily sanctified the hands and the feet from the water of the laver. They took the shovels and the forks and ascended to the top of the altar. The limbs and the fats that were not consumed during the night, the Kohanim removed them onto the sides of the altar. If the sides do not hold the sacrificial parts, they arrange them opposite the ledge on the ramp. They began piling up the ashes on top of the mound. The mound was the center of the altar. At times, there was something like 300 core of ashes on it. And the festivals they would hold they would not remove the ashes from the altar because it was an adornment for the altar. And its days the Kohen was never lax in taking out the ashes. Is this number of 300? Is that when you usually
exaggeration?
Exaggeration. Okay.
Yeah.
They began bringing up logs to arrange the fire of the pyre, but all of the woods valid for the pyre. Yes, all the woods are valid for the pyre, except for that of an olive tree and of a vine. However, with these woods, they were accustomed with branches of a fig tree and that of a nut tree and that of an oil tree.
Yeah.
And we are Zion hay. If the sinew of the thigh was cooked with other sinews, when he recognizes it, it prohibits only if it imparts a flavor. If not, all are prohibited, but the broth is prohibited only if a flavor was imparted to it. Similarly, a piece of nevela and similarly a piece of non-kosher fish that was cooked with other pieces, when he recognizes them, they prohibit only if they impart a flavor. If not, they're prohibited, but the broth is prohibited only if a flavor was imparted to it. Vav. It applies to a kosher animal, but it does not apply to a non-kosher animal. Rabbi Yehuda says also a non-kosher animal said also to a non-kosher animal said Rabbi Yehuda, but the sinew of the thigh was prohibited since the sons of Yaakov were non-kosher animals were still permissible to them. They said to him, it was stated at Sinai, but it was written in its place. If it is forbidden to cook any meat with milk except the fish of meat and locusts. Moreover, it is forbidden to bring it up with cheese on the table except for the meat of fish and locusts. If one vows to abstain from meat, is permitted to eat the meat of fish and locusts. Fowl may be brought up with cheese on the table, but not be eaten. These are the words of Beit Shammai, but Beis Hillel say it may be neither brought up nor but eaten. Rabbi Yossi said this is one of the lenient rulings of Beit Shammai and the stringent rulings of Beis Hillel. Concerning which table did they say this? Concerning the table upon which he eats, but concerning the table on which he sets up the food, he may place one next to the other without apprehension.
Okay.
And but awesome. One who sells a field has sold the stones which are needed for it, but the reeds in the vineyard that are needed for it, the produce of which is attached to the ground. The clump of reeds which covers less than the area of a quarter cob, the watchman's hut, which is not plastered, the original carrot tree, and a virgin sycamore. However, he has not sold the stones which are not needed for it, or the weeds in the vineyard that are not needed for it, nor the produce which is attached in the ground. When he said it and all of it that is in it, they are all sold. In any case, he has not sold the clump of reeds which covers the area of a quarter cob, nor the watchman's hut which is plastered, nor the grafted carob tree, nor the crop sycamore, nor the pit, nor the winepress, nor the dovecote, whether they are in use or in use. He must buy back a right of way. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva, and the sages say he may not. Rabbi Akiva admits that when he said to him, except for these, you may not buy back a right of way. And the comment, however, say he must buy a right of way. In regard to what is stated, in regard to a sale, but one who gives a gift gives all of them. When brothers divide an inheritance, those who require a field require all of them. One who takes possession of a state of a convert, if he takes possession of a field, he takes possession of all of them. One who consecrates a field consecrates all of them, and one, Reb Shimon says, one who consecrates a field has consecrated only the grafted carob tree and the crop sycamore. One who sells a ship has sold the mast, the sail, the anchor, and all the oars, but he has not sold the slaves, the cargo sacks, or the cargo. When he said to him, it and all that is it, it and all that is in it, they are sold. If he sold the wagon, he does not sell the mules, nor did he. If he sold the mules, he did not sell the wagon. If he sold the yoke, he did not sell the oxen. If he sold the oxen, he did not sell the yoke. Rabbi Yehuda says the price informs us. How so? If you said to him, sell me your yoke for 200 zuz, it is well known that a yoke does not cost 200 zuz, and the sages, however, say the price is not proof.
Yeah.
One who knows it.
That is it. Yama.
Yoma Dalit. During the entire 7-day period, they did not withhold food and drink from him, but on the eve of Yom Kippur, toward nightfall, they did not let him eat much, because food induces sleep. The sages of the court put him in his custody of the sages of the priesthood, who took him up to the Avatina's family's upper chamber, adored him, and they took leave of him and went their way. They said to him, my lord Kohen Gadol, we are emissaries of the court, and you are our emissary and the emissary of the court. We adore you by him who domiciles his name in this house, that will not change anything of all that we have told you. You would turn aside and weep, and then would turn aside and weep. If he was a scholar, he lectured. If not, scholars would lecture before him. If he was accustomed to read scripture, he would read. If not, he would read to them, or they would read to him. And from what did they read to him? From Job, Ezra, and from the Chronicles. Zechariah ben Tuval says many times they have read before him from Daniel.
Okay.
And we have Tevil Yom. Regarding a streak of egg that was baked onto the walls of a pan, and the Tevil Yom touched it, from the rim and inward, it is a connection. From the rim and outward is not a connection, and Rabbi Yossi says the streaks and all that peels off with it. The same ruling applies to legumes that are formed of crust on the edge of a pot. A dough that became the titmus mixture, or that was leavened with sourdough or truma, is not redeemed puzzle by the touch of a Rabbi Yom, but by Yossi, by Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Simon ruler puzzle. Regarding a dough that was rendered susceptible to truma by a beverage and was kneaded with fruit juice, and the Tevil Yom touched it, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yehuda ben Leah of Batosa says in the name of Rabbi Yoshua, the Tevil Yom has rendered the tussle of the entire dough. Rabbi Kiva says in Rabbi Yeshua's name, he has rendered puzzle only the place he had touched. Regarding the cooler vegetables that were cooked with oil of truma and a Tevil Yom touched it, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yehuda said, leader of the Batosa, Tosa said in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, the Tevil Yom has rendered puzzle the entire dish of vegetables. Rabbi Kiva says in Rabbi Yehuda's name, that has rendered puzzle only the place of his touch.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, you got plenty of time. You can just walk over to them. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Have
A good day.
Thank you. Thank you.